Good afternoon, students. And as you can see, it's the holiday season. And so this is going to be the very last video I'm going to do. And so this is to wish my 6-week class a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And since last week we had Thanksgiving, so this particular video is going to be covering the week 5 and week 6 assignments. So in week 5, congratulations for making it all the way to week 5 and week 6. And so in week 5, you have the week 5 forum where you're going to write your persuasive essay. So when you write for your persuasive essay in week 5, so a persuasive essay is when you want to convince the reader of your point of view. You can find topics in the procon.org website. And so then make sure that you write 5 paragraphs and make sure that you have an APA in-text citation and an APA reference citation so that the reader knows where your information came from. Make sure you have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. And then in the week 5 weekly warm-up, you're going to talk about media bias. In other words, what kind of bias do the news outlets have? And so you're going to notice that if you watch CNN, it leans towards the left, and in other words, they are very pro-Biden and anti-Trump. And then in Fox News, which is on Fox.com, they're really for Trump. And so whenever a news station just takes one side of an issue, that is media bias. But if you go to allsides.com, that's a good news outlet because it's objective. You want your news to be objective in order to be credible. You don't want your news to be one-sided because then it's biased. That means that they prefer one side over the other. And then you're going to be doing your week 5 credible sources worksheet. So for your credible sources worksheet, this is the assignment that a lot of students had trouble in because they are not very familiar with APA. And so basically, the purpose of this assignment is for you to find 3 credible sources. And how do we find 3 credible sources? We find 3 credible sources by using KAPOW. So we C in KAPOW stands for currency. We make sure that the source is within 10 years. A stands for author. It means that the article is written by an expert. P, purpose. So make sure that the purpose of the article is not an advertisement, because whenever you have an advertisement, all the advertisements care about is they just want to sell you their product. So you can't trust what the advertisements say because advertisers exaggerate in order for you to get their product. And then O in KAPOW stands for objective. In other words, it's not biased. In other words, it tells both sides of the story and that it's neutral. W stands for writing style. Writing style is that the writing is professional, has no grammar errors, has a thesis statement, and 5 relating, matching body paragraphs. So if you have KAPOW, then that means you have credible sources for your paper. And so in that particular assignment, the credible sources worksheet, you're going to find 3 credible sources. Then the first question is, what is a credible source? In other words, why is this source credible? So then you explain how that source fulfills KAPOW. Then you would write, you're going to need to do a direct quote and a paraphrase quote and a reference citation. A direct quote is when you cite the source verbatim. And mainly direct quotes are used for medical facts, historical facts, scientific facts, numerical facts. And anytime you have any of those kind of facts, you have to cite the source. And so for a direct quote, you need a beginning quotation mark and an ending quotation mark, and then you have and then you write the author's name, the date, and the page number. And then for the number 2, paraphrase quote. A paraphrase quote is when you summarize the direct quote. And so for a paraphrase quote, you don't need quotation marks. You just write the author's name and the page number. And then you put all of your in-text citations inside the body of your paper. So one of the most common errors in your forum is that you wrote your persuasive essay, but then you did not put in-text citations or reference citations. And then the last thing you have to do for this assignment is the reference citations. So the reference citations, you have to have the author's name, the date, the article name, publication name, date you retrieved the website, and then the web address. And many of you just simply put in your web address for your reference citation. You always have to cite your sources if you have uncommon knowledge, numerical data, in other words, anything with numbers, so that you give credit to the researcher, and then to avoid plagiarism. And then you have any kind of historical facts, legal facts, scientific facts, medical facts, numerical facts. All of those facts have to be cited to give the researcher credit. And I tell students that they should use pie structure. In other words, use one in-text citation per paragraph so as not to overwhelm the reader. So pie structure means P from main point from the thesis statement, I is the one in-text citation, E is the explanation of that in-text citation in 5 sentences. So if you're writing a 5-paragraph essay, you should have about 4 in-text citations in the entire paper. Then your in-text citations need to match your reference citations. And once you know that they match, then you know you did it correctly. You also have to make sure that your reference citations are in alphabetical order. And so that ends the week 5 and the week 5 quiz. For your week 5 quiz, I gave you in the announcements and in your email a study guide which covers chapters 1 through 14. And so what you do is you go look up what chapters do the week 5 quiz cover, and then you go take a look at your study guide, chapter 1 through 14, and to check to see what the sample quiz questions are for the week 5 quiz. So that's week 5 in a nutshell. So that would have been last week's Thanksgiving. You know, we had off last week, so there was no way for me to make this video and fit it all in. So that's why I'm doing it in week 6. So now that we're in week 6 and we're all finished with Thanksgiving and looking forward to Christmas, so this is the last week of class, so congratulations for making it this far, and also congratulations if you're still listening to this video and didn't switch off. So the week 6 has several assignments. You have your week 6 weekly warm-up, and in this particular warm-up you talk about how much you think you improved through the last 6 weeks of your writing. Then your week 6 discussion forum, in which you're going to post a rough draft of your comparison contrast essay. And then you've got to remember to put in your APA in-text citations and your APA reference citations. And make sure that you look at my teacher feedback before you hand in your week 6 final draft. So because the purpose of a peer review forum is that people leave feedback, I leave feedback, then you incorporate the feedback into your final draft. So a lot of you have already made the mistake of turning in your final draft at the same time as doing your week 6 forum. If you do that at the same time, then the week 6 forum loses its purpose. Remember, the purpose of a peer review forum is so that you can then look at the feedback from other students, look at the feedback from me, and then you incorporate those corrections into your final draft. And so when you peer review another student's paper, that is why I always tell you, you are supposed to comment on that other person's essay structure and that other person's punctuation. For instance, an effective peer review would be something like, Sheila, your thesis statement is unclear. The thesis statement formula is topic plus opinion plus reasons, and your thesis statement is missing reasons. So always give an actionable suggestion for how that student can improve their paper. Avoid simply saying, oh, I agree with you. I also love to eat chocolates. Or I also love, so avoid those kind of, I also love that kind of stuff, because that does not help the other student improve their paper or improve their grade. And also when you do a peer review forum, the more that you tell people how they can improve their grammar or improve their essay structure, the more you reinforce the writing concepts that you learn in this class so that you can apply it to your regular life. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, and so I've read several people's final papers and they've lost as much as 10 points because they did not include their reference citations and their APA in-text citations. So don't forget your APA. And also what's so important about APA is that in your other classes like psychology, biology, chemistry, you're going to be required to know APA. If you don't know APA, then those professors will give you a really low grade or an F on your paper. So that's why the purpose of ENGL 101 is for you to learn the APA so that when you take your other classes, you won't get an F on your paper. Because the other teachers, they're not going to be teaching you APA. They're going to expect you to already know that. And in other words, you come into the class with a full mastery of APA. So that's why I constantly tell my students and encourage them to practice using APA in their ENGL 101 papers so that they can succeed in their future classes. So, and in addition, for your, and don't forget to fill out your end of class surveys. So if you like the class, then tell me, then write it in the end of class survey. Also in the end of class survey, also tell us what you liked or disliked about the class. And then in the week 6, you also have to turn in the final draft of your comparison contrast essay and make sure that you look back at the week 6 forum in order to figure out what mistakes you made and then incorporate those mistakes into your final draft. And so the most common mistakes I've seen so far is that you have forgotten to double space your paper, indent 5 spaces, the first line of every paragraph. And you need to remember to include your APA. And then your week 6 final exam is also due this week. And what you have to do is, I gave you a final exam study guide, and then that study guide I put into your announcements, your email, and the very first email welcome letter that I sent to all of you at the beginning of the term also has the final exam study guide. So study the study guide before you take your final exam. So if you have any other questions, you can always feel free to email me at any time. And I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I hope that you and your family have a great holiday. And if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe to the Professor H Writing channel. So have a great holiday.